Tim, hi, it's Ian
Hi,
here from.
Ian.
Hi, it's great to finally catch up with you, to see each other face to face, even though we're what 6,000 miles apart, I guess, something like that. You're in Michigan, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just a few.
Yeah, you're in Michigan, is that right? Is that near Detroit in the US?
Michigan. Yeah, really the
Michigan,
heart of Michigan.
are
Yep, I'm
you?
near the capital. I'm
Are
not far
you?
from Lansing, Michigan. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I live in a small town called Romsey, which is, I says Southampton is the biggest town near us, which is a big port where all the cruise ships and that go up. And look, I've been a subscriber to your channel and a member of the Run Tall family now for a few years now. I just wondered, how long have you been doing your channel? How long have you had your channel now?
Well, first, thanks for being a part of the channel. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. So I started in 2020 was my first video that I put out. I think it was in April of 2020. It's been a lot of fun. It's been just a lot of fun. It can be a bit of a rabbit hole, or I should say money pit. Maybe that's a better word. As you try to, the more you get into it, the more you want to improve. You want to put out quality videos, that kind of thing. So it seems to me, anyway, for me, I'm always trying to pick up new equipment, new cameras, new things like that to try to improve the quality of the videos that I'm producing, putting out on YouTube. But I've had so much fun doing it. Um, I had retired after being, getting 30 years into the education system,
Right.
and I started running more consistently.
Sure.
Prior to that, I've always loved to run, always
Mm,
loved to run. But
mm.
when you're raising kids and you've got a
Yeah.
job and career and that kind of thing, I didn't always find the time for myself to go out and do that.
Yeah, I
But
know
after
that
I
feels like.
retired, I had plenty of
Mm.
time. I had plenty of time. So
Yeah,
really,
exactly. When you've got a family, it just all those things seem to get pushed to the back, to the back burner, and then yeah, as you get a bit older, you find yourself a bit more time. I was the same. I really didn't come into running properly till I was in middle age, not really at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
So yeah, what was your motivation for starting the channel? What got you going? What was the thing that made you think, yeah, this, I'm going to do this?
Yeah. Well, I have to give, 100% of the credit for actually starting the channel to my son, Holden, who,
Okay.
really kind of encouraged me and propped me to do it because, like I said, I'd gotten into running consistently, was really enjoying it. But, I live in a small town. We don't have a run club. There isn't any kind of camaraderie that way. And so I
Mm,
was looking for a way to really kind of share the experience with other people.
sure.
And I was really new to YouTube, honestly. I hadn't even really watched
No, yeah, likewise.
YouTube,
Yeah. Mm,
and the more I was, the more I ran, the more I was getting into, the running scene. I did start to watch a few YouTube videos, and the first channel that I subscribed to was Michael Ko's, the
yeah.
Kafuzi channel,
Kafuzi. Yeah.
and I just seemed to really binge watch a lot of running videos because I was into it, right? And so when I started thinking about, well, it would be fun to be able to share my experiences
Yeah.
with
Definitely.
people more like
Mm.
me, and
Yeah.
that's when my son really kind of encouraged me. And I've always enjoyed making videos. When my kids were little, VHS camcorders were just
Yeah. I remember.
relatively new.
Yeah, I
And so
remember
I was
that.
that dad
Mm.
with this giant
Yeah, yeah,
camcorder on
yeah,
his
yeah. I've been
shoulder
there.
recording all of my kids'
I
activities,
remember
right? Their
those
school
days.
plays or
Mm,
sports,
mm.
hockey, basketball, softball, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I've
Mm,
always enjoyed that. And I enjoyed sharing, the
mm,
videos with family and friends. And
mm,
that's what really got me started on YouTube. It's just a way to
mm.
be able to share it with like-minded people, with family, friends that aren't nearby, who could just tune in and kind of see what I was,
And of
see
course,
what I was
some
doing.
people with a common interest, it makes it so much
Right.
easier if you're dealing with
Yep.
people that are tuning in because they love doing the same thing that you do, basically.
Right. Yep.
Do you think it's now you look back now, so it's been 4 years. Do you has it exceeded your expectations? You think, have you gone way beyond what you first thought this would go
I
to?
Yes, absolutely, 100%,
Mm.
100%. When you first start out and you post your first video and no one watches, it can be
Yeah,
pretty disheartening.
sure.
But the
Yeah.
thing that you got to learn very, very quickly is it's not you, and it's not the content that you're producing. It's
Sure.
just you're new to YouTube, and your content, your videos aren't being presented to people
Yeah.
as an option to
Mm,
watch.
mm.
So, but patience
Just
is
be
a virtue
patient.
when it comes to YouTube.
Mm,
And,
mm.
my very first video was not great. And I think it was a review of a shoe or, it wasn't terrific anyway, at least in my opinion, because I was new to it. Right. And I'm still learning on filming and editing and all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. Mm,
And no
mm.
one was watching, and it can get a little discouraging at first. But,
Yeah,
over
I'm
the
learning.
last,
I'm learning
y-
that quickly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
over the last 4 years, that's become one of my most popular videos. And so, it's just patience. It takes
Wow.
time for YouTube to start putting your content out there for other people to see. So,
And there's
yeah,
also a trust element that needs to happen, doesn't there? When you start to watch somebody regularly and you build up that trust, even though you're not talking to them directly, you feel as if you are. And
that's true.
what they're putting out, the content they're putting, it starts to resonate with you. It's a process, it takes time. And I think your timing is important, really, because we were coming into what was been a terrible time for the whole world, and we
Yes.
all had these moments where we were stuck at home. We had this computer screen in front of us and we we're looking for something to entertain us. And of course, you gravitate towards the thing that you like doing. You're running, and of course, then you start to watch these YouTube videos. And I'm the same as you. I really didn't get
Right.
into it until then. And then you start to pick the people that you gravitate. You were definitely the one that I gravitated, towards. So, yeah, I can understand why you started it at that time. It's taken me a little bit longer, but I still had those thoughts. It's just taken me a while to get round to actually doing it. But now I'm up and running. That sort of advice that you just given me is going to make me feel a little bit better, because I don't expect the world to be watching me the first few videos I send out, God forbid. But I'm hoping that the more I learn, the better I'll get.
Yeah, they will though. They will. It might take a little time,
Sure.
but it's not. It's certainly not personal. And I think
Yeah.
you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank
And
you, thank you. So here we are, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this initial process. I really am.
I'm glad you're doing it.
And I guess now you mentioned, Tim, that you're retired now. It's a big part of your daily life, I would think, isn't it?
It is. It is. And um, yeah. So and when I'm not able to run or to do
Yeah.
YouTube videos for whatever reason, it really throws me off because you kind of build your routine around it. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mm,
just got to find a way to keep pushing forward sometimes when
mm.
when maybe life gets in the way sometimes, or things happen where you're not able to do all the things that you want to do.
Well, Tim, I think it's sort of brought me on to something that we know has been happening to you the last couple of years. You've really been suffering, my friend, from some terrible injuries. Could you just run us through briefly what's happened to you in the last couple of years, if you can?
Oh boy. So yeah. I'll start back with the Boston Marathon in for 2023 because that was kind of the start of it, I guess, is for my injuries, and I've been plagued with injuries since then. So I'm in that trying to break the injury cycle
Yeah.
phase of,
Mm.
of my life right now. And I'll get there
Yeah.
100%. I know that I will, but it's going to take a little bit of time and a lot of adjustment on my part for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a couple weeks before I was getting ready to run the Boston Marathon, I was feeling really good.
Mm.
I know that I was in probably the best shape that I've ever been in as a runner.
Yeah.
And I was out for a long run, and I was wearing the Nike Alpha Fly,
Sure.
the first version of the shoe.
Mm.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but at some point during that run, I had popped one of the air units in the shoe.
Yeah.
And so
Sure.
my foot strike was changed. And when I
Right.
got done, I thought, boy, why does my ankle feel so bad? It
Mm.
was starting to
Mm.
hurt after I
Mm.
finished. And I ended up with tendonitis in my ankle as a
Right.
result of spending a couple hours in a shoe with a
Mm.
altered foot strike. And I stopped running for a couple of weeks and hoping that that was going to be enough to be able to get me through the marathon. And I did get through it,
Yeah.
and I ran a decent time, but it
You
was
did.
painful. It was tough. It was tough.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And so that was kind of the start of the injuries. And, I've been just kind of suffering from them ever since. And most recently, the most serious was a
Mm.
stress fracture
Your
in my
stress
left,
fracture. Yeah. Yeah.
the femoral neck of my left hip.
Mm.
And I'm through that, feeling really healthy, feeling pretty strong that way. So that's a positive. and then I had a fluke injury
Goodness
where I
me.
kind of goofed up my right knee a bit.
Yeah.
And, so immediately I took a couple weeks off and just let the swelling come down until
Mm,
I felt good enough to start running again. But I must not have been 100% because my foot strike, my gait was altered.
mm.
And, it started cascading into some other issues
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
then. So,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so that was really interesting.
it is interesting, and I hesitate to say that the videos that you posted during your rehabilitation and the amount of time you spent on your bike when you would much rather, I'm sure, have been out running. Of course you will.
Absolutely.
I hesitate to say that I enjoyed those videos because it's terrible to see a fellow runner suffering the way that you did. But I did enjoy them in the sense that there was a human element to it.
I
And it's
appreciate
it's,
that.
it's really interesting to say that when you were approaching Boston, you felt like you're in the shape of your life, and it's things that cross my mind like this every now and then. When I'm feeling really good about my running, when I'm feeling really great, I feel fit, and I think, Ian, just be careful here. Don't get ahead of yourself because just round the corner, is an injury waiting for you. So don't count your chickens shoot out, and it's that element of caution I think that comes maybe with age and
Sure.
time. So I just wondered during that section when you were posting those videos of you on the bike in your rehabilitation, your YouTube interest, did you notice any changes at all in, say, your viewing figures? Did they go up or down, or was there any changes during that period to your viewing figures?
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. People tune in to a running channel to see running and not necessarily somebody out
Yeah.
on their mountain bikes. But what I did find, which was really interesting and really encouraging to me, is I've got, I would say, a solid, I have over 20,000 subscribers to the channel
Do
now.
you now? Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic.
But for those videos where I was, riding my mountain bike or doing some alternative types of videos that
Yeah.
weren't specific to running, I still had, 400 or 500 people that would
Yeah.
watch consistently. So that was really encouraging to me
Oh,
that,
definitely makes it
you've got a
worth it.
base of people
Sure.
who are like-minded, probably have gone through
Yeah.
very similar
Yeah.
things where they've been injured and they understand,
Mm.
and so, they're tuning in and offering encouragement and advice, and I appreciate it. And I listen and I take the advice that I think is going to work best for me for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just wonder, Tim, you're 5 years younger than me. I'm 63 now. Neither of us are getting any younger, but of course, we want to run as long as we can. I had to have a real rethink about how I continue with my running career as I get older. I can't, I'm just not going to be physically
Hmm.
able to do the things that I really want to do. And one of the things that I thought straight away was, Ian, give up all thoughts about running PBs from this moment onwards. It's just not going to happen. And if you try to do them, which I tried to do in London, this is going to be the result of it. You're just going to ruin everything, and you're going to shorten your career really by doing it. So I had to make major changes.
Right.
And I honestly believe the changes I made at that time have got me here, sort of, 12 years later. I'm still running. I'm still able to do it. My expectations have gone down, but I've done 3 successful marathons after that, 3 of the majors. And the changes I made put me in a position where I felt confident enough to do them. But the last thing on my mind when I reached the
Sure.
start line of any of them was what time I'm going to finish in. I learned that forget about the finishing line because there's no guarantee you're going to get there. So I just wondered, with these experiences that you've had recently, with these injuries that you've had time. We have plenty of time, don't we? When you're making a video, but it doesn't last you all day. You've had enough time to think about what
Right.
comes next. How have you given any thought at all during this experience to what adjustments you're going to make to your running now to create that period of longevity? So you're still doing this in 10 years' time.
Right. I appreciate all of the changes that you've made and
Mm,
recognize that as a runner because we have to listen to our bodies, and
yeah.
and that's true of any age, at any age. But as you get older, you really need to be hyper vigilant when it
Mm,
comes to listening to what your body's telling you and then paying attention to it.
yeah.
It's one thing to know that you've got some red flags; it's another to act on those red flags,
Yeah.
and
Mm, mm,
that's what I'm trying to get better at, going forward.
mm,
And there are definitely some adjustments that, I've been trying to implement, but it seems like, I just haven't even had enough time to put the changes in place because
No.
I run for a week and then I'm off. So clearly I'm still figuring it out, but I am confident that I'll get there. Some of the things that I need to focus more on for me going forward is I don't like to think of it as, overtraining. It's
Yeah.
just I'm under recovery. I'm just
Yeah.
not allowing myself enough time to recover from the
Mm,
workouts that I'm doing.
mm,
And so, running 3 days in a row for me may not be in the cards, but I could do two.
mm.
I could do
Sure.
two with a day of
Mm,
recovery, that
yeah.
kind of thing. So,
Mm, mm,
or using the lever system, things like
yeah.
that to offload distress.
Mm,
In fact, lever has been offering some training programs
good.
and things using their system to help people
Mm,
prepare who have had injury issues. But
mm,
just on my own, it'll be, maybe cutting back the volume, the number of days that I can run in a
mm,
row. And
mm.
even though I might be feeling good,
Yeah.
knowing that,
Yeah.
if that's like you said, boy, you get feeling good and sometimes you can push it because you've been able to in the past. Right.
Yes, of
And,
course.
and
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
kind of still think of myself as being a lot younger than I am. And then, I
Mm.
catch a glimpse in the mirror every now and then and I see all that gray and I think, oh,
Come on,
I'm
Tim.
I'm
Come on.
not as young,
I'm white
not
now.
as young
Goodness sake.
as I think that I am. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think a couple of things that sort of conclusions that I came to during my, this period when I was having a real big think about how my running the career was going to go, and I came up with a couple of sayings, and I've stuck to them ever since. And one was rest and routine, and I
Yeah.
felt the key to longevity, is to get this routine, have a constant routine that your body knows what's coming next. You're not pushing it any further than it wants to go. So I never run. I haven't done for 10 years now, Tim. I haven't run 2 days in a row ever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't. I have day's rest, days running, days rest, days running. And I never go any more on my long runs on a Saturday morning than 10 miles ever. Because I know that the 10 mile it became my base product. So
Sure.
I knew that at any time, at any stage, if somebody said to me, Ian, you've got to go and run 10 miles, I know I could do it easily. And of course, if a race comes along, a half marathon, I don't do any training. I just do this same routine. And I think,
Sure.
well, if a half marathon comes along, it's only 3 more miles. I can cope with that. And if I'm doing all right during the race, I feel okay. I'll push on. If I don't, I just think I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing and be thankful that I'm still here, able to do it. I want to carry on doing it as long as how can I protect myself in the best way? Those days that you had where you're running 3 or 4 times a week and you're pushing yourself to quick paces, it's hard. It's really hard to say, well, they may be behind me now. They may be.
Right.
But I also think the situation that you're going through at the moment, it will come to an end. You're going to get better. There's no question. And you're going to go on and you're going to you can look forward to the next 10 years of running. But Tim, it's probably not going to be the same as your past 10.
Right. Oh, that is 100% sure. That is a definite.
Mm.
And that's okay. And that's part of it. That's a
Oh,
part of
yeah.
it is coming to that realization that, like you said, personal best might not be in the future at this point, but that doesn't mean that I still can't do my best.
No, absolutely.
So, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And,
Yeah, good.
I've been really, leaning towards not running the Chicago Marathon here in October
I
because
know you said
I haven't been able to run
no,
consistently. And
no.
consistency is really the key, even if it's, like you said, if it's every other day, that's consistent.
It's
You're
consistent,
still
yes.
consistent. And that's really the key to, I think anyway, to being
Oh,
fit and longevity and
no
so on.
question. No
Yeah.
question. If you're doing this throughout your training, one week you're only running 5 or 10 miles, the next week you're running 40 or 50, you're heading for injury.
Right. Right. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather be running than riding my bike. So
Yeah.
if I can make a few changes, I enjoy riding my bike. It's just I don't enjoy it as much.
No.
I just
Yeah.
don't.
Same.
And
Yeah. I'm
so
exactly the same. Tim, look, this wouldn't be a YouTube running channel if we didn't start to talk a bit about running shoes. And goodness knows, right? In the time that we've been running, we've seen some huge changes in the technology. How far is it going to go? Where's it going to go from here? What do you think?
well, they're going to continue to get lighter. and faster and stronger. They're going to be using stronger materials, lighter materials.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to innovate. What those innovations look like, I don't know. Carbon has been kind of the big game changer. Adding the carbon
Yeah.
plates. That's a kind of innovation in tech. I think that's just going to continue. But I think
Sure.
we're going to see some other things too. I think anyway, some other innovations. Maybe not right away, but down the road. 3D printing, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
It's hard to tell. I mean, the technology is just advancing so quickly. And, they're going to continue to try things. Some are going to do well, some are going to fail. They aren't going to work out
Yeah.
as well as they had thought.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That can give a lot of biofeedback on your foot strike and how much stress that you're putting on your body and where that stress is coming from, so that what kind of strength training you should focus on in your,
Sure.
that kind of thing. Some of those things may not happen today, but I could foresee something like that coming on down the road.
Well, we know all these happens at the top level, doesn't it? It's probably already happening now for the
sure.
elite runners. They're already way ahead of us, and we know once it's been tested out, and then gradually, it filters down to the public, doesn't it? So I expect all the things that you just said are going to come in a shorter space of time than we can possibly imagine. Because if you think how quickly technology has moved on in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, when I started running that was about 14, 15 years ago, I started to take up running seriously. You had one running shoe. You went to the running shop. They fitted you out for a running shoe. It never crossed my mind that I would need another one until there was holes in the bottom of that pair. Nowadays, what have we got? We've got rotations. And I think YouTube goes to go somewhere along to blame for that. But it's still quite nice to have a few running shoes at home. It's cheap.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and companies are, I think Saucony was one that really kind of jumped on that bandwagon. I think they did a great job marketing. You look at that endorphin series of shoes.
It's been revolutionary, hasn't it?
If you, were a Saucony fan and those shoes worked for you, you could just stick with that brand. They have the shift, the speed, the pro. That's your rotation right there. They got you all covered. And
they've got you completely covered.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard to tell, but I think in the bottom line, I think shoes in the future are going to continue to get, a little lighter, a little faster, a little stronger. They might even become more aerodynamic, with the tech that they're putting out there and the things that they're looking at to try to improve even, just fractions of seconds faster or a little less drag on your feet from the air. But I don't know that you need to do all of those things to
basically you're still stepping. And this is kind of things I'm trying to get back to. I think in some ways, and maybe you agree with me or not, one of the things I've been thinking about YouTube is kind of lost its way a little bit from the basic premise of just step outside the front door and do a beautiful thing and go for a run. It doesn't matter what shoe you're in or kit you're in, just the fact that you're able to do it. It doesn't matter how far you go, it doesn't matter how fast you run. And I think we kind of along the way lost our way a little bit there. It's one of the things I was hoping and my challenge to try and bring that back a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're dead on right there. That we just because a new shoe doesn't mean it's better than the shoe from last year. And oftentimes you can pick up a shoe for half the price.
I always encourage
last
that.
Year's models. And still one of my favorite shoes was the Nike Pegasus. Like the original.
So I remember scouring everywhere, and eventually I had to buy a pair from the US and have them shipped over.
Oh, sure.
And I ran the New York Marathon in them because I just couldn't buy them anymore in the UK. And when I look back now, I think, would I run a marathon in them again now? Probably not. No, but I didn't have any problem at the time. They were perfect, But you mentioned something really I just want to touch on before we wrap this up today, is that you mentioned about tech. And Tim, you're a great tech guy. You've got all your stats and everything like that. We're very different. And I've just mentioned to you in the past, I do everything by feel. I can probably tell within a minute or two when I've done a 10-mile run how long it's taken me.
Sure.
And that's enough for me. Is there anything at all, do you think, that now I'm starting this channel, what could you teach me? Is there anything that we can learn from that? Is there any more that I can do to get a bit more involved in that?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with the way that you're training, and I probably aspire to be more like you than to rely so much on tech, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, your body is going to tell you more than my Garmin, right? I mean, my Garmin's can give me basic stats, like how fast did I go? How far did I go? what my cadence was. But in all honesty, I know what I felt like when I was out running, and whether or not it was a good run or a poor run, and whether or not, I felt like I got something out of it or I didn't.
Sure.
That's not to say that that tech isn't important. I do use it. I do find it helpful when it comes to pacing, and I think that's especially true for beginning runners to kind of get a better sense of how fast you're going and whether or not, you need to speed up or slow down a little bit, or, that kind of thing. And, recently I purchased and subscribed to Stride, and I bought the Stride Pod Duos. And, I found that to be helpful in my foot strike. I knew that something wasn't quite right after I messed up my knee, and I tried to go out for a run, and I could feel it, right? I mean, I could feel that, my injury issues were starting to cascade, starting with my knee, but then, all of a sudden my shin wasn't feeling so good, and my ankle wasn't feeling so good. So when I got back, I called up that data from Stride, and when you use the duos, you can look at your foot path. Yeah. So, I do, like I said, try to be more like you in many ways, and trying to listen to my body and just, going with what it's telling me. But sometimes it's nice to have the data to back it up, to say, you know what, I'm not crazy. My foot really was doing something weird, so.
Oh, definitely. Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. I have to thank you so much for joining me today. And let's keep in touch in the future.
And, maybe in the near future, I can have you on my channel as a guest. And
that would be great. I'd really enjoy that. That'd be great.
All right.
Tim, I wish you well. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
It's been great to talk to you.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
All the best. Bye-bye.